I'm going to be talking about the recent fine that the FSA imposed on Standard Life for the marketing materials that it produced. Now, what was significant about this fine is it was the first fine ever to be imposed on a company for marketing materials relating to the fund, to a unit-linked fund, sorry. And it's also the largest fine ever to be imposed on a company for marketing and promotional materials. Now today what I'm going to talk to you about is the story of what happened, why this happened, and the lessons that can be learned from this. So what happened? Well, first of all, Standard Life provide pensions and life assurance products to members of the public, or retail customers, shall I say. And they do this by using unit-linked funds. Now, the unit-linked fund that Standard Life used, they refer to as the fund. And it was designed back in 1996 to provide enhanced returns and low volatility to customers. So it was aimed at people coming up to retirement or people wanting a stable investment. When it was first designed, it was invested mostly in cash and very short-dated instruments, so it was a very safe investment. But over time, this got more and more, the investment strategy changed, and it became more invested in more riskier assets. Although this was the case, Standard Life failed to notify existing customers that they changed their investment strategy, and also they used a third-party company who produced the promotional materials for them, and they were still using, they were still producing material that stated that they were invested 100% in cash. So not only did existing customers not know this, and that they were invested in these new types of assets, new customers were being missold these products under the impression that they were very safe. So because they were invested in these risky assets, it meant they had much more exposure to the market. And during 2008, during the liquidity crisis, it became very hard to price these riskier assets that the fund is now invested in. And due to an unexpected fluctuation in the market, the value of the fund actually dropped by 5%. Now, to some customers, this was actually the first time that they were aware that the fund wasn't invested in cash anymore. And to other customers, they weren't aware that the fund could drop by so much in one day. So people started complaining about this, and the FSA got involved. And what they did, they launched an investigation into this about how the procedures broke down and what went wrong, basically. And in January 2010, the FSA fined Standard Life £2.45 million for breaching two of its principles. So why did this happen? Well, believe it or not, the employees of Standard Life actually raised this query with some people in the team very early on. I think it was in 2007. And they started, their issue was that they didn't think that some of the marketing materials that we were producing weren't very clear and they could be misleading to customers. However, in Standard Life, there was no procedures in place to actually raise this to more senior members. So this kind of got swept under the carpet and nothing ever became of it. Also, customers started complaining because they thought the material was very misleading. And one customer in particular actually said that he wanted the wording in the material changed to reflect that the fund could drop as well as rise. And although this did get changed, because there was no procedures in place, again, senior management weren't notified of this, and existing customers were never notified about this either, so they were still believing they were invested in a very safe fund, and the capital was protected. Finally, they also used an external team to produce their marketing materials. And Standard Life were actually aware that they were producing this incorrect information, but because they had no systems in place, they couldn't do anything, well, they weren't doing anything about it, and no one was taking overall responsibility for this marketing material that was being produced. From the report, it was actually found that, the FSA actually said that it was as if the business was working in distinct silos and no one was communicating with each other, and there was no overall responsibility for the materials that were going out. So when customers were complaining or people were raising issues, no one was there to take these queries because everyone was like, oh, it's someone else's problem. So in January 2010, the FSA fined Standard Life for breaching two of its principles. One on the context of producing material that wasn't fair, that wasn't clear, and that was misleading. and for also producing material, for not having a procedure in place to be able to deal with queries when they arose, and to not to deal with queries when they arose, and when failures did happen, to be able to resolve these, failures. So what lessons can other firms learn from this? Well, one thing they need to do is have someone taking overall responsibility for what's going on. One way to get around this is to have some kind of marketing team, or an individual who takes overall responsibility of what's going on. If Standard Life did have something like this in place, this probably wouldn't have happened in the first place. But then, if something like this did happen, there's always this team who had overall responsibility of what was going on. So this is one thing that can be learned from other firms. Another thing other firms should take away from this is improving communication across teams. As we saw with Standard Life, they worked in distinct silos, so it was as if they were working in a completely different business. No one was speaking to each other. What companies need to do is have a structure in place so that when queries are raised, they can be passed on to the right member of senior management, basically, and resolved straight away. Another one is an appropriate structure in place so that when failures are identified, they can be addressed straight away, and also they should also look back on why it went wrong so they can prevent this from happening again. One thing that firms should take away from this is that with the case of Standard Life, not only did they make the mistake once, but they failed on numerous times to actually get it right. And this is of great concern to the regulators, and it's one of the big things that firms should take away from this, is to get things right the first time. So despite all of this happening, Standard Life were actually really cooperative with the FSA investigation, to the point where they actually did their own investigation into what went wrong, so they could understand how the process broke down, and to look for this to never happen again, basically. They also proactively contacted people who, the customers who were affected by this, and asked if they had enough compensation for what went on, and they also compensated the fund for the fall in value, so they put the money back into there. The FSA noted all of this, and because they were so cooperative with the investigation, proactive, they actually reduced their fine by 30%. So it does pay to be proactive and cooperative in situations like this, even if you know you are wrong. So just to summarise what I've said, the FSA fined Standard Life in January 2010. They fined them because they were producing marketing materials which were wrong, and they were also failing to notify existing customers when things were changing. Not only that, they were failing to pick up on numerous warning signs to be able to address these issues, and there was no procedures in place to deal with these failures. So in January 2010, they were fined £2.45 million, and they're making it the largest fine ever to be imposed on a firm for marketing materials. Thank you for listening.
Well done.
Is there any questions?
What was the people that kicked off about it? Were they happy in the end with what had happened? I was one of the people that got caught in this, actually. That's what's going on this time.
I don't think, because Standard Life actually put the money back into the fund, no one was really affected overall, but I guess they weren't the happiest because they were kind of misled the entire way and they sold product. I don't think I'd be very happy. I didn't actually read an article from a customer's point of view. It was always from an overall quote, like looking down on what happened.
Okay, it's really interesting.
So can you repeat your name for a second, please?
Yeah, it's James Gahagan.
Okay, thanks. No technical questions.
Anybody else got any questions? Let me switch off that other thing because it's not working properly and it keeps doing a flash behind you. Yes.